The Rio Balsas is not one of the world's most famous rivers, overshadowed by its own banks, flowing vaguely northwest, passing through gorges and scrub and villages with unpronounceable names, watering donkeys and the occasional bandit. It eventually capitulates and pours itself almost anonymously into the Pacific. But once a year, the helicopters come, and with them, men whose sanity before long you may come to question. This is the 5th Mexican International Powerboat Race, and for 5 days, the Rio Balsas is as proud as the Nile or the Ganges.
The Mexicans wrote their big boat off.
They did? Which one?
Sank it on the rapids down there.
Which one?
The big one, the fast one.
Powerboat racing is so much a cult of the playboy classes that one doesn't readily associate it with Graham Greene's Mexico. There are no blonde ladies without visible means of support. There are no dry martinis, either shaken or otherwise, just adventurers who assemble here from all over the world. From New Zealand with patriotism. From every corner of Mexico. Neville Sutherland of New Zealand brings brashness and overt ambition. Dr. Manuel Moran of Mexico, impenetrable charm. There's the obligatory gringo, an American. And Bruce Snow, another New Zealander for whom it's a first visit. 3 classes of boats compete. Aristocrats of unlimited horsepower, capable of 90 miles an hour. Less expensive toys, rigid in construction, but powered by outboard motors. And then there are the working class entries, inflatable rubber, again driven by outboards, with an engaging capacity for folding in two with the crew still inside.
The guests will be able from after 6 o'clock today, and tomorrow after 6 o'clock again, and today up to 8:30 or 9 o'clock. The guests not today.
Today.
Few things about the Rio Balsas race are straightforward, least of all communication. For all that, they keep coming back.
This boat won last year only. We realised that we're up against some pretty tough opposition. Some very good boats here. Powerful motors, carefully prepared boats. You'll see. It's going to be a really good race, I think.
It's also going to be an occasion to see Mexico on fete, an experience not necessarily to everyone's taste, nor one which exactly reminds you of Horse Guards parade and trooping the colour. The host country, being gregarious people, argued volubly for a mass start. This almost certainly would have caused a cataclysmic collision with much loss of life as soon as the boats hit the rapids, a fact reluctantly conceded by the Mexicans, who appeared desperately to be missing those revolutions. So, on the stroke of 9 o'clock Mexican time, which is to say 10:30 on everyone else's watches, the first challenger gets away. Three, 2, 1, Bruce Snow, the New Zealander. .300, and acting not unlike some wartime Lancaster bomber pilot, Dr. Moran, one of Mexico City's most respected surgeons. For the first dozen or so of its 370 miles, the Marathon Nautico Internacional de Rio Balsas presents a benign face and not much of a challenge. There are hidden hazards here and there, but nothing more than would rip the bottom out of your boat. first real challenge is just round the corner, where the river starts going downhill. This is not unnatural, since the whole of Mexico is built on a slope, but it produces a dangerous phenomenon known as the Santa Elena Rapids. So, conveniently near a television camera but a long way from home, another of New Zealand's entries comes to grief. For them, the race lasted half an hour and cost in the region of £15,000, breakages apart. First prize in the Rio Balsas race is £3,000, a tribute, if ever there was one, to the concept that winning has got absolutely nothing on taking part. More dangerously, their wreckage now makes a narrow channel still narrower. However, Mexico's smiling doctor is safely through. So too is the Gringo. Jim Martin's Canadian silver tank, in this company a Leviathan, comes through with the calm assurance of a flagship of the line. For the Class 2 boats, with engines that can be lifted out of the water, this, in theory, is the most propitious part of the race. Manoeuvrability here is more valuable than power. In practice, however, anything can sink. When the inflatable rubber boats set off, it's with the knowledge that a puncture in these parts is not like breaking down on a motorway. The Rio Balsas flows through stretches of Mexico which haven't changed since Cortez. There are support helicopters, but frequently they don't work. There are rescue boats, but frequently they can't get through. There are recovery lorries, but more often than not, there are no roads on which they can drive down to the banks. The race route is cut through one of Mexico's most inaccessible places. The inflatable Mexicans seem to have relatives everywhere. What appears to be calm water has hazards of its own. Sudden shallows, concealed sandbanks, water levels so erratic that they couldn't be charted even if the Mexicans had thought of it. The banks are littered with the skeletons of boats driven by the overbold. Their pilots, by law, have to carry survival packs and cans of drinking water. An added charm is that this is bandit country. It was here that an unarmed, stranded Canadian crew had to pay a suitable sum to one enterprising band of locals for protection from another. The temperature on the river is 110, and the crew of Kitchener discover a slight new discomfort. Their engine's dead. They're forced to paddle the next 40 miles. The first day's finish line is Santo Tomas, as yet unblessed by a Hilton or indeed electric light. But at least it offers a haven for temporary repairs. Unfortunately, most of the support lorries haven't yet caught up.
Make sure gone. No more gas.
Every time we get a barrel, it'd be some over.
We got
Anyway, it's the traditional time for travellers' tales.
We could have gone 3 ways down a river, and the way we went was the wrong way, and we hit a stone. Only one, so that's fair enough. We've got the boat chiselled out now, and we're going to fiberglass it up, and we'll have it all ready in another hour or so, and we'll be ready for our 4th place starting in the morning.
But one New Zealander won't be starting in the morning. His boat is still back at the rapids.
Our boat is a very heavy boat. And we struck a pressure wave, a big wave. She stood to our tail, and we couldn't control her.
$3.88 de Hansen, 1.15.15.
8th place, boat 377, Kronik. Okay, Kronik, with 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 16 seconds. And in first place, boat 317 of Neville Robert, with 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 38 seconds.